Salutations friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm reviewing Pikovaya Dama from XERJOFF. This is a fragrance that I've been wearing for years. I've had samples and decants of the original formulation and the new formulation. This is a scent that I love. This is a composition that I love. It's a very, I would say, mature, elegant, beautiful, timeless smelling scent. If you love those more vintage, glamorous, elegant fragrances that have a nice blending of incense and musk and bright, sharp citruses and soft powders, there's something about this to me that just screams perfection, elegance, and just timeless glamour. And I want to review it for you guys, so let's get into the video. Now, for transparency purposes, I purchased this. And real quick, I'm just going to remind you guys, I'm not a fragrance expert. I'm giving you guys a consumer fragrance review. I am a fragrance enthusiast, a fragrance collector. I am not coming at you as anybody that has any real experience. This is a very expensive bottle of perfume. Full retail price for 3.4 ounces. You're looking at spending $650, and I think for 1.7 ounces, it's $450. So whether or not you trust me, you like me, you think I have good taste in fragrances, do not under any circumstances blind buy this fragrance. Make sure that you try it on your skin first. This is very expensive. And even if you find a good deal on this, if you find a tester bottle, if you find a partial, if you find a full retail, full presentation on a gray market site, you're still going to be spending hundreds of dollars on a bottle. So make sure that you try it on your skin first. I have a love of a variety of different fragrances, and I also have a great canvas for scents. So I generally like a lot of things, but one of the things that I tend to viciously love is powdery scents. And for the longest time, I had a kind of fear of, like, when I was growing up and I started getting into fragrances, I was more into like fresh, fruity, very easy to wear fragrances and more timeless fragrances. And I always use fragrances like Shalimar and Chanel No. 5 because those are the most recognizable. People understand what I say when I say it smells like this. They're like, oh, I've smelled that before. I know what you're saying when you say that. I was scared of those. I was scared of aldehydes or bright, sharp, kind of waxy citruses in the opening that mimicked aldehydic openings. They intimidated me. And over the years, I started to really crave and just desire those scents so much. They started to really work on my skin and I started to really enjoy them. I really love powders. I love a complexity to fragrances. I also love a simplicity to fragrances. So when I describe scents, and I'm going to be mentioning it a little bit when I get into this review, I usually, when I'm referencing terms like mature and complex, I'm usually referencing the types of scents that have a lot of complexity, a lot of layers, and a lot of nuances. And more modern fragrances, in my opinion, are fragrances that are more minimalistic. They might have a lot of notes, but when you smell them, they don't smell like they have dozens and dozens of notes. They smell like there might be a nice layer of vanilla with a soft musk and maybe some watery florals and a little bit of incense in there to warm it up a bit. Not something that's laden with so many different notes. It's like a beautiful symphony and you can hear every single instrument. It's like one beautiful melody. And those to me are more modern fragrances, the more minimalistic, simplistic, but still very artistic and creatively put together. It still takes a lot of ingenuity and a lot of experience to create those, but the more complex fragrances, to me, in my inexperience, are the ones that have more to them. And the ones that can be intimidating to people who prefer those more minimalistic, simplistic fragrances that are really popular today. And that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with either or. There's always going to be trends in fragrances. And I think that the reason why these types of scents are classic is because they really just kind of cement themselves in people's hearts because they just work really well and they smell really beautiful. The notes in this, you have bergamot, lemon, Bulgarian rose at the top. At the heart, you have coriander, atlas, cedar, orris, and incense. At the base, there's patchouli, sandalwood, vanilla, and musk. There's also a little bit of nutmeg in here as well. My favorite part of this fragrance is the opening. It has this beautiful, sharp, in a positive way, not in like a negative way, not where it smells off balance or off-putting, but sharp, waxy citrus opening. And I love that type of opening. And it almost to me mimics like a green mandarin opening. And I love it. I love it so much. I love that kind of very sharp, waxy citrus. I love it. It smells so good and so refreshing on the skin. And it's so elegant. And there's just something about it that I just find to be just perfect, especially when you're trying to create something that has layers and nuances. Sometimes openings that really focus on citruses, they can be very bright and juicy and smell like juice, and like a concentrated juice, like a blood orange smells like a concentrated juice. And then you have orange and lemon, and I love it. And then you have different types of citruses that almost smell pithy and bitter. And I love it when it smells like a little bit oily, and I love it when it smells waxy and almost fatty. This is a beautiful kind of waxy, fatty, beautiful citrusy opening with a little bit of bitterness and a little bit of sharpness. It almost feels like the citruses are underripe, and that is so pleasant on the skin, especially when you're dealing with a fragrance that has a lot of complexity with aromatics that have the more cooling effect. And what I mean by that is, and I've talked about this before, when you're working with aromatics within fragrances, especially with very complex scents, you're working with the vibe of a scent. And a vibe of a scent could be something that's fresh, it could be something that's sexy, warm, cold. And for me, like, you really play to a vibe of a fragrance with aromatics. So for me, cinnamon is a great example, is a aromatic spice that is warm. If you add that to a fragrance, you're going to make a kind of very sexy, salacious, sassy, warm fragrance. So if you add that to like a jasmine, you can have a very spicy, sexy jasmine. And then you have spices like coriander and nutmeg that are more cold. They kind of had the vibe of coolness. And when paired with this really gorgeous blend of florals and incense and kind of soapy musks and this kind of waxy, semi-bitter, very kind of underripe kind of smelling citrus in the opening, that coolness adds this really beautiful layer of like cold steel elegance. I'm trying to like do a Zoolander reference. I'm not doing very well. To this fragrance that just works so well. And what that does is it kind of balances this incense, because incense can smell very warm, it can smell very rounded, and that to me could throw off the balance of this fragrance. But what it does is it kind of balances everything beautifully. Now, I will say that this can be considered to be very challenging for some people, especially because of the waxy, soapy muskiness that this fragrance has, paired with its powdery aspects from the orris. Now, orris, powdery scents, especially on more mature and very, I would say, more vintage styled fragrances, can be considered to be very intimidating, very challenging, and some people just don't like them, and that's totally fine. And I think that some people, this could smell like laundry detergent, this could smell like bath soap, and not the positive way, in the negative way. The balance of this could be off. So that's why I find this to also be a very polarizing fragrance, because what I find with fragrances like, and again, I'm going to use the quintessential Shalimar and Chanel No. 5, is there's a beautiful balance to those fragrances. And there's not many risks taken with those compositions. They're beautifully balanced, they're beautifully blended, they're gorgeous, they're timeless, they're created to be mass appealing. And sometimes when you're trying to create something that has a level of opulence and a level of kind of an elevation, you do need to take risks, not just in the quality of the ingredients that you use, but also in the composition. that elevation can sometimes be hit or miss. And with Pikovaja Dama, in my opinion, on my skin, the biggest real risk taken is this very kind of waxy, fatty, kind of semi-bitter citrus opening with these musks that really work and add this kind of really beautiful, soapy, soft clarity to this fragrance. But it still has a lot of heft to it. It has a presence on the skin. It has this beautiful, elegant opulence to it that other fragrances don't have. And I do consider Shalimar to be one of the most beautiful fragrances in the world, but this has like a different, higher, more elevated layer of elegance than Shalimar has, because of those kind of added layers and nuances from the citruses and the powders and the musks and the spices. It's more wearable, Shalimar is, because to me it's more cozy, it's more safe, it's more, to me it's more everyday elegance and opulence. This is more special occasion. This is just on another level. And that's how I feel, and I love it. And I wear Shalimar all the time. I love Shalimar. It's gorgeous. Again, it's one of the most beautiful fragrances in the world. I truly believe that. It is one of the most special fragrances in my collection. I have very real scent memories and missed scent memories from that fragrance. And I definitely agree with all the love and hype that that fragrance has. And I know that this is a polarizing scent, and people are going to agree and disagree with the price point, how this smells, and the like. But for me, loving complexity, loving like when fragrances have a texture, and the texture of this is waxy and fatty, but at the same time kind of oily. And I love that the different areas that you smell this fragrance, you have different experiences with it too. The farther out that you smell this scent, at least to me, because I've smelled it on other people, I get more soft powders and florals. When I'm a little bit closer to somebody, I get more of those waxy, beautiful citruses and musks. And up close, I get, strangely, more of the cedar and the incense. It's a beautiful experience all over, and it's different and it's unique, and I love it. And it's kind of that layer of beautifully well blended, well crafted, a gorgeous experience, and at the same time something unique and special that just, I've always been completely just enraptured with this scent. So that is why I love it. It also is a beast of a fragrance. One spray is all you need, really just one spray. Please do not overspray this fragrance, and it will last me, if I am lucky, 10 hours. I think I wore this one morning, and the next evening after 2 baths and a shower, I mean, it wasn't like projecting off my skin, but I could still faintly smell the musks and the incense on my skin. So this is definitely a fragrance that will last on your skin a very long time. Now, the biggest difference to me on my skin between the original formulation and this formulation has more to do with the roundness of the fragrance and the powders. I found the powders to be a little bit softer, the vanilla to be a little bit more present, and it to be a little bit more well blended with the citruses. It was more of a more well blended experience than this, but I still really love this. And I do really love the waxy fattiness that this fragrance has, specifically in the opening. It's just, it's really up front and center. It's kind of jarring in a very positive way. And there's just something about it that just really grabs me in a way that I love with scents, especially more kind of vintage inspired, gorgeous compositions to me that smell timeless, beautiful, and elegant, and very sophisticated and very beautiful. I also know a lot of people out there ask if fragrances are more masculine and more feminine. And I know a lot of people out there wonder, like, can men wear this or can women wear this? So when we look at scents that are marketed to men, I always mention that you have the types of fragrances that more men purchase. So generally businesses will market fragrances that are more leathery, more tobacco, more salty, woody, aromatic, fresh to men, because generally men prefer to wear that, so it makes more sense. They'll make more money if they market those fragrances to men, so men's fragrances smell like this the same way. Women's fragrances are more watery flowers, more sweet gourmands, more soft fruity florals. More women tend to prefer those fragrances, so brands make more money when they market those types of fragrances to women. But you can wear whatever you want. However, if you prefer to shop on one side or the other, because you can wear whatever you want, that doesn't mean that you have to wear whatever. You could prefer to just wear men's fragrances or prefer to just wear women's fragrances. If you prefer to wear men's fragrances, you do not have to be intimidated by this fragrance. The citruses in here, since they are slightly more bitter and more waxy, and the musks in here with the cedar work very well to anchor this as a more shared scent. So if you like the idea of more timeless, sophisticated fragrances, like if you've smelled Shalimar and you smelled Chanel No. 5 and you like the way those smelled and you wanted to wear them on your skin, but you thought maybe the vanilla or the florals or the white florals maybe lended them as more feminine than you're comfortable and confident wearing, maybe try Pikovaja Dama, because I do find that the waxiness of the citruses and this kind of really beautiful aromatics in here lend it more as a shared scent. So this doesn't smell feminine or masculine, it smells shared unisex. And I think this would also be very sexy on men or women. But you can wear whatever you want, obviously, it doesn't matter. But if you are more confident and comfortable wearing men's fragrances, don't be afraid to try this fragrance. But that is my review of this fragrance. I would love to know what you guys think. Have you tried this fragrance? Do you agree with my review? Do you disagree with my review? Have you tried other fragrances that are similar to this, that maybe aren't so expensive? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.